Dear colleagues and distinguished guests, first let me thank the organizers for this important initiative and for inviting me to take part on behalf of the World Meteorological Organization in this edition of the Gender Summit. It is with great interest that I join you today, although virtually, to exchange views and experience with regard to available and needed gender research, knowledge and innovations, as well as their application to develop better and more sustainable interventions that ensure equal benefits to all. The COVID-19 crisis has reminded us of the inherent links between science knowledge and science practice. The phrase, "you cannot act on something you don't know," is also relevant for today's event. Empirical evidence and data are critical for prompting gender-responsive climate action at all levels. WMO has placed special emphasis on implementation of this particular commitment over the past years, in line with our organization's Gender Action Plan. It is now clear that we need to fully understand the nexus between climate change extremes and gender with a focus on two main aspects. First, solid disaggregated data and targeted research is needed to disentangle the climate-related impacts on different groups of women and men, as well as on gender relations and roles, as they emerge from situation on the ground. Gender differentiated needs for climate information and services should be addressed in order to strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity in an equitable way. Second, multiple gender-responsive innovative initiatives have proven to contribute to climate mitigation and adaptation, disaster preparedness, recovery, gender equality, as well as reaching other sustainable development targets. Women's contributions to climate action on the ground and their participation and leadership in climate science and governance should be recognized and enhanced. In order to achieve this, the value of partnerships and interdisciplinary research cannot be underestimated, and WMO has prioritized such an approach over the last years. Allow me just to highlight a few of such initiatives. 6 years ago, WMO brought together multiple stakeholders from UN agencies and member states at the Conference on the Gender Dimensions of Weather and Climate Services, who adopted a series of recommendations for making climate services more gender responsive in the four following sectors: disaster risk reduction, public health, water resources management, and agriculture, as well as food security. In 2017, a review of gender-specific issues in early warning systems was conducted as part of the Caribbean hurricane season evidence-based assessment, in the framework of the collaborative WMO co-led Climate Risk and Early Warning Initiative. In 2018, 2 sessions on user needs and services provision strategies for gender-sensitive climate services took place as part of the Greater Horn of Africa Climate Outlook Forum, bringing together climate information providers and users from key socio-economic sectors, governmental and non-governmental organizations, and also civil society. Finally, the knowledge base was further enhanced through WMO's most recent publication on the gendered impacts of weather and climate, evidence from Asia, Pacific, and Africa, conducted 1 year ago. Let me take this opportunity to share some of the results of this latest research. While climate change is an essential threat that does not discriminate and affects everyone, differences in vulnerability and exposure arise from multi-dimensional inequalities that can shape differential risks, gender, and other societal categories such as age, economic status, disability, geographic location, material status interact to shape people's experience of climate change. The report confirmed the value of such intersectional analysis. In Tanzania, for instance, compared with other women, widows, especially those elderly and illiterate, are the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, as they have a low adaptive capacity, facing challenges in both agriculture, water management, and livelihood diversification. In Fiji, women from low-lying coastal areas are among the most impacted. As sea level rises and coastal villages are relocated to higher ground, women face the extra burden of changing their livelihood. They are not anymore able to access the coastal resources of fishing, as their household responsibility restrict them from taking lengthy absences of fish. Older women and women with disabilities are among the most affected groups during and in the aftermath of disasters. They may need home visits by social groups to inform them about upcoming disasters and provide protection. Television broadcasts could also add sign language to warnings, and text messages could be set targeting the hearing impaired. The report provides practical recommendations to governments, national meteorological and hydrological services, and international actors how to ensure accessible climate information adapted to gender-specific needs and roles. These recommendations can be summarized in 3 major points. First, bridging the information asymmetry. First, the information asymmetry between male and female users should be overcome. As an example, Bangladesh focus group discussions with the most heavily affected communities during the 27 Cyclone Sidr showed that female-headed households and women whose husbands were away did not receive the warnings because they were given in the marketplace, which was distant from their homes. Another example, the research showed that most women in Botswana lack access to agriculture extension services, credits, and training in new technologies. While the Pacific women were more aware of the seriousness of climate change and the challenges faced by their countries, a significant smaller proportion trusted scientific information. This highlights the importance of various media sources and information dissemination for leaving no one behind. For example, a study in Senegal showed that while all farmers needed information on seasonal onset of rains and the length of rainy season, female farmers also required information on rainfall deficit forecasts and early seasonal rainfall cessation. Lack of such information would be devastating for them, given that they plant their plots a month later than their male counterparts. The third point, finally, multiple channels of delivery reach women more effectively. For instance, timely weather-based agro-advisory delivered through mobile phones have proven beneficial for gender-inclusive agriculture in India. In Nigeria, mobile phones are already distributed by the governments to rural farmers for better access to climate-smart agriculture information from extension workers. I would like now to turn to the second theme that I had mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. We have to recognize the important contribution of gender-responsive initiatives to climate science and also action both at the national and the international levels. I would like to first cite a few innovative grassroots initiatives mentioned in the study. Women's Weather Watch, an interoperable communication system in Fiji, engages female leaders to deliver simplified weather alerts and early warnings to disadvantaged women and groups from remote areas. In Liberia, women are trained and mobilized to act as coastal monitors and run local meteorological stations, reporting on coastal conditions. In Thailand and Lao People's Democratic Republic, WMO co-led projects have engaged female community leaders in flood warning dissemination and have color-coded female-headed, disabled and elderly households, prioritizing them for search and rescue teams in the event of a flood. With regard to knowledge and innovative actions to increasing women's participation in earth science and governance, let me highlight 3 types of targeted actions that have been implemented by the WMO. First, attracting girls and women, young women in STEM at an early age is important for addressing the root causes of their underrepresentation in science. WMO regularly encourages members to conduct outreach activities, such as school visits to national Met services and observation sites, to participate at job fairs in universities, and to conduct media campaigns showcasing female role models. Second, WMO has also been maintaining a comprehensive gender database, which tracks the gender composition of all delegation in all WMO bodies and substructures and in the Secretariat. This data, in addition to gender disaggregated data on national Met service and hydrological staff, is an important advocacy tool to encourage increased female representation in earth sciences. Finally, WMO has prioritized targeted investment in female leadership. Since 4 years, we have organized a series of women's leadership workshops for over 150 female delegates to constituent body sessions and professionals from national Met services and other institutions involved in meteorology, hydrology, and climatology. Let me conclude by summarizing a few key take-home messages. We know that climate impact results in multiple intersecting forms of vulnerability, that different groups of women and men have different levels of access and vulnerability, and also to needs of climate information and services. Opportunity. At the same time, women led multiple innovative climate action and recovery initiatives. They promote transformative changes on every continent. Gender-responsive interventions and targeted actions, including those led by WMO, have contributed to climate resilience and gender equality, and also other goals and targets of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Gaps, however, there are significant research gaps still need to be resolved. We need to continue exploring, among others, intersectional analysis of climate and weather impacts, including on different groups of men. Further research and case studies relating to gender differentiated needs for climate information and services. National data on women's representation in earth science, structural barriers and enabling factors. And last but not least, good practices on women involvement in climate action and gender responsive interventions. WMO looks forward to continuing contributing to evidence and knowledge developments on gender and climate. We will continue to engage in multi-stakeholder partnerships as empirical data remains fundamental for the better informed decision making. Thank you very much for your attention. Please let us know in any case you have comments or questions. We are happy to address and answer them. Thank you.